Indeed. And
the irony is that Malam Nasir El-Rufai doesn't even need to say anything in court. He may elect to say nothing. He may elect to rest his case on that of the prosecution and say, I have no defense. But the wise thing will be for him to deny, complete denial in court. And if he denies, then the prosecution will be heavily relying on his self-confessed interview on Arise.
All right. And everyone is now talking about My Watch, former President Olusegun Obasanjo's memoir, where he described Malam El-Rufai as, quote, a pathological purveyor of untruths and someone who suggests, who struggles with loyalty, though he, also acknowledged his intellect. As a lawyer, does a history of controversial conduct affect how courts or the public assess persecution claims like this?
Well, the truth of the matter is that it's very difficult to believe Nasir El-Rufai because of the many lies he has told. You remember under Yar'Adua, he told several lies. Then under Goodluck Jonathan, he told more lies. And now he's telling further lies, that have not been substantiated by claims. Whenever Nasir El-Rufai says something, it could be true. Some of these things could be true, but because Nasir El-Rufai is the one saying it, I would definitely choose not to believe until I see proof. For instance, he has made very grave insinuations and allegations about chemical substances being imported into the country by the Office of the National Security Advisor. I choose not to believe because Nasir El-Rufai is a liar. He has lied on several occasions. He lied under Jonathan that Jonathan had a sniper list of, I think, about 1,000 people, and that he was number 6 on the list, and that this list comprised of critics and political opponents. An allegation that the then government described as most unfounded, baseless, and preposterous.
And I have heard that narrative, Mr. Adeyanju. If you allow me to butt in, my concern is that you have argued that those who exercise power harshly must now face accountability. But is there a danger that justice begins to look like vendetta when rivals are the ones prosecuting in a pre-election year, and it is obvious in black and white that it belongs to the opposition?
Yeah, the danger of also letting some of these things slide is that others are going to do same. You understand? If people can just say anything that they like because they are members of the opposition, and there will be no consequence for it, especially about issues around, say you have tapped the phone of the National Security Advisor. If El-Rufai is allowed to get away with it, then I should also be allowed to get away with it. If El-Rufai is allowed to get away with the issue of making the claims about the chemical materials that have been imported, then I should also be allowed to get away with it. Because I'm also a critic of this government. So if El-Rufai can say it, why can't I say it? But I'm careful and mindful of the things I say, even as a critic, so that I don't go overboard. Because the idea is not to throw the country into entire chaos. Because if you throw the country into entire chaos, then what country will you now have to govern after you've removed Tinubu from power?